And I remember as a kid looking up to you, and as a Muslim watching this white man, say that this is wrong, and you were challenging a media narrative. We didn't have social media back then. You didn't have the public support that you have now for the Palestine cause, and you were under a lot of attack. And your voice is so important because you were such a powerful voice in 2003 to stop the crime of the Iraq War, and that's why we need you on our side.
Well, Mohammed Mustafa, a beautiful soul, was on the Piers Morgan show, a British doctor from Middlesbrough who risked his life for saving others, a real hero in a world full of cowards. What a great example of a man who put it all on the line by leaving the safety of his home, his family, flying into the midst of a genocide to save the children. He shared some heartbreaking stories on his social media page of the graphic scenes he had witnessed with his very own eyes. This man has already submitted his paperwork to go back to Gaza with a mission of building a hospital. Let's take a look.
In Glastonbury, just then, what's happened in Glastonbury, the chants, right? Death to the IDF, right?
What did you think of that?
Well, what I thought of that is just like, they are more concerned and more outraged by a chant than the actual crimes of the IDF.
Can't you be outraged by both? Because I was.
Look, you can be outraged by both.
Watching thousands of people at an English music festival chanting death to the IDF. That is outrageous. But it's also perfectly possible to criticise the Israeli government for what they're doing in Gaza.
I mean, look, you're asking the wrong person about that, because I've had family members killed for generations by the IDF. I've had my home destroyed, my village burnt down by the IDF. I've held children who were riddled in bullets by the IDF. I've had to have children in a corner while their mother bled out to them on the floor and covered their own children in her blood as she died because of IDF bullets and IDF bombs. So, when you ask these questions, like, why are you asking a Palestinian who's been...
Well, I'll tell you why, because, for example, when the Iraq War happened, my brother was a serving officer, for example. My issue was not with him. My issue, I campaigned against it, as editor of the Daily Mirror. My issue is with Tony Blair and the Labour government that ordered him and his colleagues into battle. So I think blaming soldiers in war it's chicken and the egg. They're being ordered into battle to do what they do by their governments.
Look, I hear your concerns, and look,
I hear you too. Because if I'd lost a lot of family members to IDF bullets and bombs, I would probably feel the same way you do.
What I say is this: look, I don't agree with any form of the violence and death chants. I'm a doctor. I try and bring life to this world, right, to stay in life. I don't want anyone to die. But when you're an IDF soldier who is putting on dead women's lingerie in Palestine, tying children's teddy bears onto tanks, when you're leaving babies to rot in incubators, when you are laughing as you're blowing up schools and hospitals, there is going to be backlash. And what happens at these music festivals is they're reflective of how society feels, whether that's right or wrong. I'm not here to comment on that, but I'm just saying that, like, if the government was more proactive, people wouldn't feel this rage. And I don't want people to feel rage. I don't want death, right? Because I've had a lot of death in my family. I've had a lot of issues in my life because of this issue. I want there to be peace. I want both sides to come together. I don't want to see Jewish people suffering and dying, but I don't want to see Palestinians either suffering and dying. And all I want is, I want to bring in my hospital and I want to feed the children. And I've got the solutions here. I've got them here. I
hope people are watching this and listen to you.
I just need someone to listen.
Will you be going back to Gaza while the war's still on?
I've my forms are submitted. I should be going back into Gaza, whether I'm allowed back in or not, considering all the noise that I've made about the...
Well, you were on the Greta Thunberg flotilla, which I was very critical of her, because I'm not a big fan of hers. I thought it was all a bit of a virtue signalling load of old twaddle, if I'm honest. But I didn't know you, obviously. I found you a very impressive person to interview. But did that really achieve anything, or was it not just another of Greta's stunts, which really is about her, but doesn't really achieve anything?
So look, what I'll tell you to that is, I was invited to come down to, see the guys at the flotilla and have my voice there as a doctor that had been to Gaza. Like you, I'd watched Greta over the years. I wasn't sure either, But when I was there and I saw them get onto the boat, Greta was crying. Her mother was there, her family was there. There was real concern that she could be killed here. And there was concern by the other flotilla members. It was a very somber moment when they left, because family members were hugging, there was tears, and there was, because I was there before they got onto the boat, and there was all the precautionary stuff of people writing their last letters, their last messages. mean, this is real. You know, the flotilla before then, 3 weeks ago, had been bombed by drones. 15 years ago, 10 people on the flotilla were killed, right? You're talking about sailing in a ship, an unarmed ship carrying baby formula, to go into the heart of a genocide with an army that doesn't respect international law. I mean, to be fair to Greta, right, as much criticism as you can have, she's really brave for what she did. And I know people might have this in there, but it's real. They really wanted to break the siege, and they've made the whole world talk about this illegal siege because the siege has been going on for 18 years in Gaza, and that has been locked by sea.
I just don't think anybody was thinking about it. It wasn't already, was my point.
And I can respect that. And I also just think, look, people have different ways of expressing their views. My ways of expressing it is to try and get something done. Other people is to perform protests like that gain media attention. Whatever it is, I just want the killing to stop. And I think everybody has a role to play. Even Greta has a role to play. And this is why I'm here. Even you do as well, Piers. I know when I was a kid, because I used to watch, you know, you on TV, and I know that you were the editor of the Daily Mirror at the time. You led the anti-war movement, or one of the main figures that led the anti-war movement. You came under a lot of stick. You were attacked a lot. And I remember as a kid looking up at you, looking up to you, and, you know, as a Muslim, watching this white man, you know, say that this is wrong, and you were challenging a media narrative. We didn't have social media back then. You didn't have the public support that you have now for the Palestine cause. And you were under a lot of attack. And your voice is so important because you were such a powerful voice in 2003 to stop the crime of the Iraq war. And that's why we need you on our side to save these children.
I need no persuading about Gaza. I think this has gone on way too long. The death toll is way too high. The number of innocent people being killed on a daily basis is completely unacceptable. And I will be saying all this to the Israeli government minister in a moment. But Mohammed, I'm going to leave you there. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
It's been a real pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, real pleasure as well. Thank you, Piers. Thank you so much.
It's great. I like the fact you've come with plans to try and help.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Piers. Thank you so much.
Good to see you.